Good day and welcome to U Talk. I'm Ryan Funk. U Talk is a program dedicated to diversity, highlighting native-born and new Canadians' cultures and experiences. What is our purpose in life? For many, including myself, we go years without finding what we're passionate about and what we wish to bring into the world. For Alex Sangha, he knew he wanted to help others, either through social work, writing, or directing.
Yeah, so I'm a social worker. I'm a trained social worker. I've done my Bachelor of Social Work at UBC. I did my master's at Dalhousie. I got a master's in public administration, public policy from London School of Economics in England. Then I did my clinical social work. I worked in so many different areas of social work, in nonprofits as a youth counselor, with the ministry in foster care with special needs kids, and in adults with developmental disabilities like autism. And I've also worked in hospital settings as a social worker, as well as in a mental health team where I was a mental health clinician and a team leader working with largely older adults with dementia, Alzheimer's, and mental health issues. So that's in a nutshell. But then in 2011, I started a counseling practice on the side. And over the years, it became so busy that basically it was earning more than my regular job as a team leader with the health authority. So I dropped my job, and I felt really bad because I lost the pension and benefits. But I loved the freedom of having my own life, because I can start work from at 1 o'clock every day. I can sleep in. I can choose how many hours I want to do, and you really can't beat working for yourself. I really love the work, being a social worker. So I did some teaching, I did some counseling, I did some social work. I'm helping people. And it's just great. Like I really love the work I do. And I never thought I would be in the position I am right now, with so much freedom and flexibility and, earning a good living, just doing what I like.
What attracted you to wanting to get into social work to begin with?
To be honest, when I was younger, I was, I kind of got caught up in a little bit of spirituality. And I really felt that, if there's one thing that Jesus wants me to do, it's probably to be a social worker and help people and make a difference. So, I think, I had a few mentors when I was young who really pushed me in that direction. And even though I'm not really religious now, I'm still very much spiritual. And I feel, you're put on earth to make a difference. You're put on earth to help people, and you're put on earth to, to be the best you can be. And I'm a helper. I mean, if I were to take a personality test, I'd probably be a helper, so that's all I do. And I get a lot of satisfaction from it.
Mm-hmm. So are you originally from Canada and then went to England, or are you from England, came to Canada? I'm a little unsure about that whole aspect.
So I was born in just outside of London, England, in Gravesend, Kent, England. Gravesend is kind of like the Surrey, BC of England. It has a very large Punjabi Sikh population, and I'm one of those people whose family landed from India and landed in Kent, Gravesend, and then when I was very young, we moved to Surrey, Delta, BC area, and I grew up in the Surrey area, Delta area, and then I went back to do my master's in London at the London School of Economics, and then came back. So I'm British. I have my British passport. I have my Canadian, and by birth, I'm, my family's from India. So in a way, I'm kind of like a product of the British Empire.
Yeah, part of all the Commonwealths.
Yeah, because I kind of went to those countries, right?
Mm-hmm. How is life in England versus here in Canada?
To be honest, you really don't appreciate how beautiful Vancouver and how wonderful Vancouver is until you go to other parts of the world. Like London, as a young 28, 29-year-old, gay guy in a big city full of nightclubs and good-looking people and multicultural people, it's fun, and it's a great way to have fun and go to school. But I'll tell you one thing, it's so expensive to live in London, and they just don't have the mountains and the beaches and the water and the greenery and the space. They really don't have a lot of space. And even their underground, is all underground, and it's kind of scary driving under in those tube trains. And I'm used to the SkyTrain in Vancouver. You have this wonderful view, and it's all on overland. And there's so many little things like that that you really miss when you go to England. And when I came back to Vancouver, it was like my stress level went down so much because there was less people, there was less traffic, there was open spaces, there was fresh air, there was and also the even though London has some of the best food in the world, it's very expensive too to eat healthy and to survive in London. The wages aren't that low, but everything is so expensive, and especially if you want fresh food and delicious tasting food. But Vancouver has really good Asian food, really good Indian food, really good food from all over the world, and it's relatively affordable, I think. So compared to where I was in London. So I mean, I kind of felt financially oppressed there, to be honest. And I was a student, at a good university on a very generous budget, and I kind of felt financially oppressed. I couldn't imagine what the people working there for, I think for the longest time, England didn't even have a minimum wage. There was no minimum wage for the country for the longest time, and I think they finally introduced one under the Labour government. But it was shocking how much poverty I seen in England. It was like, I mean, Canada is nothing compared to the problems they have.
Yeah. So how about we transition a little bit into, why you want to go into media and kind of the work you've done there. I've seen like the Times of India you've been involved in, the Huffington Post Canada, Vancouver Observer, and the Georgia Straight. Tell me a little bit about your media experience.
So I've always wanted to be a journalist. In fact, the first university I applied to was City University. They have a really famous journalism program in England, but I was accepted. But at that time, I was dealing with a lot of sexuality issues, and I had a nervous breakdown, and I just came back to Canada. Never pursued it. I always loved writing. People always said I had a talent for writing, but I never could really make a living doing writing. And it was a great way for me to get my issues out there, to create awareness on issues, and just to support the other social advocacy work that I was doing. So I just sent some of my columns and editorial pieces and writings to these various media outlets, and they took me on. I guess they never really heard from a gay brown guy before. So I was very unique. Right? Because I said, I want to write about, issues about, that South Asians, immigrants face, that, gay people face, that, just issues that, someone like myself would face. And I like writing about my lived experience. And especially I was raised by a single mother. So I write on a lot of really deep social issues. And they took me on board. I haven't really had too many media outlets who I really want to write for who said no. Yeah, so it's pretty refreshing, right?
Tell me a little bit about, the themes and things that you cover at your media company. So LGBTQ plus community, human rights, immigrants, refugees, social justice issues, South Asian people. There's a lot of aspects that you cover. So why did you choose these aspects? I mean, I can already get a feeling based off of your past experiences and your thoughts of why, but can you put it in words to explain a little bit more about, why you wanted to focus on these issues and kind of the projects and videos that you've already produced?
Well, I feel that, doing films, social justice films, is just another way of doing social work, social advocacy, and social work. I mean, really, that's what I'm trained in. And the only difference is when you are doing films, social justice films, or educational documentaries, or human rights films, or these types of films, they reach a huge potential market. Like my first film, My Name Was January, it went to 65 film festivals around the world and won 15 international awards. I mean, thousands of people saw it all over the world. It is available online for anyone to watch on the National Screen Institute Film Festival. They have it online. I still get emails from all over the world, people who've watched the film, messaging me, asking me questions, saying that, they were really touched by the film. And, the film was about my social coordinator, January Marie Lapou. She was transgender. She was Filipina. She was brutally murdered. She was stabbed 18 times in her home in New Westminster in 2012. So the film, I kind of got into filmmaking by accident. We wanted to create a tribute and a eulogy for her and get her message about what she really meant to us as a human being. She wasn't just a sex worker who was living some high risk lifestyle, as some people in the media were labeling her. She was a human being. She was our social coordinator. She was the mother of our group. So I discovered through film I had a voice, and not only I had a voice, I can give a voice to other people. And we can share our own stories, our own lived experience, and it was having an impact. It was having a social impact. And our film has gone into schools and high schools, and 3 distributors picked it up. It was broadcast across Canada. I mean, just at Transgender Day of Remembrance on November 20th, just recently, we had 3 screenings alone on Transgender Day of Remembrance. So it's almost become kind of like a cult film for Transgender Day of Remembrance. So, January is like, January, my friend, is in heaven saying, make me famous, make me famous. So she's like, don't forget me, every November 20th, it's like, January's back, so it's like, to me, I think it's another way of doing social work, to be honest, and social advocacy and social activism. Film is another avenue to get your message out to the world if you really feel passionately and strongly about something. And there's never going to be a shortage of issues in the world that we have to solve. So
You have a new project coming out, Emergence Out of the Shadows. Why not tell me a little bit about that and kind of the story of how it came to be?
So Emergence Out of the Shadows is another passion project. I really believe in true stories and documentaries and sharing the lived experience of people who are actually experiencing and going through, what happened. So this story is about a young kid from India, from Punjab, India, who was an international student in Vancouver at college. He was studying computer science. He was in his early 20s, late teens, I believe, and he was a gay Punjabi Sikh guy. His family, the relatives he was staying with in Surrey in BC, found out he was gay, and they totally disowned him. They kicked him out. I'm not going to tell you too much what happens, but his family in India stopped funding him. He was trapped in a foreign country with no money, no food, no shelter, nothing. His immigration was in limbo. So you find out in this story what happens to this person, and you find out in this story the psychological trauma that happens to a young gay man when he is completely rejected by everyone around him and all his loved ones. And then it goes further, the story goes further, and it fleshes out the stories of 2 local, a gay man and a lesbian in Vancouver with similar stories, and it fleshes out their stories and the reactions of their parents. So it's a very unique perspective because it's very rare to hear from Punjabi Sikh parents about, sex and sexuality things. It's really a taboo in the community. So I wanted to do this so that no other kids have to suffer. I'm hoping there can be some education and awareness in the community, because there really is very few movies about, gay and lesbian Punjabi Sikh people and South Asians coming out of the closet and the reactions of their parents. This is an education for the parents as well as for the kids. And I just want to make it safer for people. I want to make it healthier. I don't want any more homeless, exploited, victimized people in our community. And I want to just save lives and make life better. I mean, we have one shot at this. We have one shot at life, I mean, we're only going to be around for 80, 90 years if we're lucky, if we're healthy. And so why make people's lives miserable? I don't think God created us because he wants us to be miserable. We need to love each other and take care of each other and make everyone's life as wonderful as possible.
Yeah, that's something I've learned talking to a variety of different people. Differences aren't meant to be scary. Differences are something to be celebrated. Like it's what's the word? Just having that variety is just exciting. At least for me, it is.
Yeah. The funny thing was, I went to Ottawa. I actually got this medal for founding Sher Vancouver, the nonprofit that I founded, from Payette. It was so exciting. And I was doing some research on Ottawa before I went, and they have all these tulips in Ottawa. they're all different colors. And I said to my mom, I said, look at all these tulips. I said, this is where we're going. I said, they're all different colors. I said, they're not all the same color. They're not all a bunch of clones of each other. I said, that's what human beings are like. Human beings are different, they're diverse. And why would sexuality be any different? You know, there's gay people, there's bisexual people, there's lesbians, there's heterosexual people, there's transgender people, there's a diversity in everything, and then there's diversity within diversity. We're not all the same. Everything is the one thing about creation is that it is diverse and unique. We're all the same, yet we're all different. It's kind of like a strange paradox, you know.
Your involvement in the community and the importance of being involved in, social movements like this, like Sher Vancouver, and you're involved in the Dignity Senior Society.
Started in 2008. When I founded it, they said, the leader of the Sikh temple said, there's no such thing as gay Sikhs. There was a huge backlash. I got so much hate mail from England and India and US and Canada. At that time, MSN Messenger was really big, and people were just adding me to Messenger and just threatening me and coming after me. And I was just, so my mom took me to the Sikh temple. We prayed. And then she said, I said, Mom, I really need to do this because I'm willing to do whatever I have to do. And she supported me. She said, if this is your destiny, then you should do it because obviously there's a great deal of education that needs to happen in our community. And at that time, Share Vancouver was a gay Sikh group, but we changed it over time to Queer South Asians and Friends. Number one, we didn't want to go into battles all the time with the Sikh religion and all this and interpretations of that. We just wanted to create a social service and help our people. So we removed the association with Sikhism for that reason. The other reason we wanted to do that, we wanted to welcome non-South Asians. So we had South Asians and Friends. A lot of people in our group were in interracial relationships or they had friends who wanted to join. There wasn't a lot of support for anyone. Like January was Filipino, who we made the film about. There wasn't a lot of support for her to join a lot of other groups at that time. And so we started to welcome everyone. And today on our board, we have a Jewish person on our board. He's one of the founding members of the group. We've had Latino people on the board. We've had, of course, transgender and Filipino and heterosexual people on our board. So we're basically becoming a South Asian multicultural group. And, so when I founded it, the reason I founded Share Vancouver, it was two sad stories. There was a young Afghanistan Muslim kid in Surrey at a high school, and every day he would go to school, they would call him queer, faggot, homo. It was relentless. He wrote a note to his mom saying that he's not even gay and everyone is bothering him and are bullying him. He was so hurt and so humiliated and so sad. He walked to the Batola Bridge, which is a major bridge here between Surrey and Westminster, and he ended his life. I was so moved by that. I actually called the mother and I said, I'm a social worker in Surrey and this happened. And I said, I understand that your son was not gay and I said, but this can happen to anyone. And I am a gay person and I know what he went through because I went through high school myself. And I said, I know what a part of it, I don't know how relentless it was I'm just saying I could relate to it. And the other thing which really got me was there was a foster kid I was working with foster kids with the ministry in Surrey. And there was a foster kid in California. He was moved from foster home to foster home. He was just coming to terms with his sexuality as a gay guy. He was a little bit feminine. He was wearing makeup and a little bit, he was just expressing himself. Anyways, there was a Valentine's dance coming up at his school and his name was Lawrence King. There's a Wikipedia page on him, Lawrence King. And he asked this really cute guy that he liked to be his Valentine at the Valentine's dance, like to ask him to go to the dance. So this kid was so humiliated and embarrassed and ashamed that another boy would ask him to go to the dance that I'm not going to tell you exactly what happened, but he brought a gun to school and you can imagine what happened. And a few days later, Lawrence King was on life support. They had to pull his life support. So I was just so traumatized. And as someone working in foster care and as a social worker, I wanted to found an organization that can create some education, some awareness, some safety for people in our community. And both these kids, one was Latino and one was South Asian, the Afghanistan guy. He was Hamid Nasto, he was South Asian, Central Asian. And I wanted to help, minority communities and people like us because we had no one. At that time, there was really no one, Ryan. There was there was no internet. There was no gay straight alliances. I don't even think there was the cell phones back then. There was nothing. There was no education on gay and lesbian rights or gay and lesbian safe sex information in the schools. Where was a young gay kid coming out of the closet supposed to go for help? Th- There was literally nothing. There was literally nothing. They were alienated. They were isolated. I remember there was one gay and lesbian center in downtown Vancouver, and they had a youth group once a week, and all these people would travel from all around Metro Vancouver, secretly getting on the bus after school. And I was like 2 hours outside of downtown Vancouver. I had to go downtown to go to that youth group. Can you imagine?
Yeah, yeah,
Can
that's.
you're a young kid, you're 15, 16 years old, going to a big town like that.
I can't even I can't even put myself in those sorts of shoes, like the sort of experiences that people have had to go through. Like if you're different, but society treats you as a villain, or that your sexuality is gross or perverted. Like I can't even imagine, the trauma that these people have gone through.
And the funny thing is, I remember the first time I met another gay guy or someone who was heterosexual. I went to see a psychiatrist actually because I wanted to be straight. And he was the first person who said, "Well, there's nothing wrong with being gay." And he was a straight man. I was like, "Where is this guy coming from? Is he out to lunch? Is he from another world?"
Yeah.
And I was like, the psychiatrist helped me and he helped me understand myself and come out. I mean, I probably would have killed myself for sure if I didn't have someone to talk to. And,
Hmm.
uh, it was really strange that someone like 20, 30 years ago would actually tell me there was nothing wrong with me, you know? So even it wasn't that long ago that homosexuality was in as considered a disease or something in the diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders. It hasn't been that long ago, and there was crazy experiments done on homosexuals back then, and even homosexuals were blackmailed in the federal public service and stuff. They were horror stories of them finding out people that they are gay and getting fired, and
Hmm.
doing so many weird medical treatments on them. And so, I mean, save us all, God save us all. We don't ever go back that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep moving ahead. That's all I can
Yeah,
say.
keep moving. And you know what the funny thing is? It happens one day to homosexuals and gay people, but it can very easily happen to someone else.
Hmm.
It can happen to women, it can happen to other minorities, other visible minorities, it can happen to disabled people, it can happen to anyone who is different.
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't fit in or is different, they can be a victim.
Yeah. In the realm of hate, there's always an enemy. And if they currently don't have one, they'll make one of themselves, of their own group. I guess coming back to my original question, just kind of the in your opinion, what is the importance of being involved in organizations that focus on social issues?
Yeah. Well, I think number one, you're making a difference. You're helping people who need help, who need a voice, who need to, for whatever reason, cannot speak out for themselves. And the other thing is, you get a lot of satisfaction doing work where you feel you're making a difference. That's what I see. I mean, to me, it's not only am I helping people, I feel I'm helping myself. That's what I think is the purpose of for a lot of people, and for me as a social worker, that's why I got into social work. And you know, I mean, sometimes you can get overly attached to a lot of the problems happening in the world and you feel helpless of what you can do, but you still have to try to do something, right? Everything that I've done, whether it's the writing or the films or the advocacy or the social work or the counseling or the teaching, um, is all kind of interrelated and all working toward a certain movement to move forward.
Coming out later this year, Emergence Out of the Shadows explores the taboo topic of being gay and lesbian in the South Asian community of Metro Vancouver and abroad. Alex believes the film will give a voice to anyone who is different or is suffering. If you have any stories you'd like us to share or communities we should highlight, leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was You Talk, and have yourself a good one.